Well, he's back. We have the prolific Dr. Malone, author of Those Who Give a Damn, a manual for making a difference. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court decision, which weakened voter rights again, and what's happening with Mississippi and other places. Dr. Malone, always good to have you, dear brother.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Richey. Good to be here.
Let's talk about what's actually happening with these Supreme Court decisions and the weakening of voter rights and their newly found, well, legal philosophy as it relates to racism in the electorate.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that's going on now, on April the 29th, it was the Supreme Court came in and gutted that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act that happened in 1965 after Bloody Sunday. And we all know what happened on Bloody Sunday. And we understand that across the South, people were fighting for the right to vote. And the Section 2 was so profound and so needed because we understand across the South that people had not had that right to vote. And so we saw districts like Congressman Thompson districts. We saw districts like Terry Sewell districts be able to come into play, and where Black people were able to have representation. We see that started to now be gutted. And a lot of people say, well, why the South, right? We understand that in places like Mississippi, we have a great amount of African-American voters. And if we can continue to ensure that those voters don't vote, those voters don't have a voice, then we will see that white supremacists, that white power continue to run a state like Mississippi, run a state like Alabama, run a state like Tennessee. And so I always say that democracy is torn away in 1,000 pieces, right? It's not just one piece. And so I think the Supreme Court case was one piece, but we also see the administration where they are saying now that anytime that they don't win, it's what? It's voter fraud, right? And we know that that's a lie. And so I think it's 1,000 pieces, and Mississippi is just one of those pieces that we see that is coming into play here.
I've said for many years that Republicans started to play chess, Democrats are still playing checkers. And if you go back to the gutting of affirmative action, where some Democrats were on the side of this, wrongfully in my opinion, I said, if they are successful at attacking affirmative action, understand this, affirmative action is a policy framework. It is not a directed engagement of numbers. It's just a framework, a policy framework. But if they can successfully make the argument to gut affirmative action, they then can utilize that case law to successfully make the argument of eliminating anything that has a race equity policy or principle connected to it. And that's exactly what they've done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think it's going to get any better, right? I think that this administration, they understand that the American people, they are not in tune with them. They are not in agreement with what this administration is doing. And they know that the people power is there in the polls, right? And so they understand that. And so that's why they're working so hard at trying to make it hard as hell for people to go out and vote. And we saw this with the SAVE Act, right? The Congress passed that SAVE Act. It failed in the Senate, but that SAVE Act, we know that's going to require people to have all this proof of citizenship. And we know about what, 21 million people have a hard time getting their IDs and their particular proof of citizenship. Let's take, for example, if we use the Mississippi Delta, right? The closest DMV in the Mississippi Delta is what? Jackson, Mississippi. That's 2 hours, right? And so in rural America and inner cities across this country, people don't have access. And so they understand that. And it's and like I keep saying, democracy don't just go in one chip. It's 1,000 different chips, like you just said. Affirmative action, voting rights, right? Planting all these seeds of illegal voting when we know that in our country we have some of the most safest voting process in any civilization.
Yeah. And Dr. Malone, I'm reminded, I'm in Georgia, brother. So I'm reminded by those who have taught me about poll taxes, how they would not eliminate Black people from voting. What they would do is say, in order to vote, you must pay an extra tax. And because Black folk were typically the most disenfranchised economically by design, they did not have the disposable income to pay in order to participate in democracy. And then they had these other rules, like you had to count or guess or calculate how many jelly beans in a jelly bean bar, in a jelly bean jar. These were real things that local board of elections would create in order to dissuade African American participation, because they did not want black folk to have a say-so in their own future. Now you have a different rendition of that, but it's happening again.
Absolutely. And I will tell you this, even in Mississippi and Alabama, we saw that the governor of Mississippi was going to call for a special session, right?
Yeah.
When they were talking about Congressman Thompson's seat in the 2nd Congressional District, which we know is the only black majority district that is represented here in DC from Mississippi. But I also think this, Dr. Richey, that the governor isn't crazy. He understands that all hell will break loose if he calls for a special session and to get rid of the 2nd Congressional District. He understood that he would wake black people up. It was already 6,000 black people that was already there protesting. So he knew that he would wake them up. And so right now we haven't saw that special session come into play ahead of the midterms because he knew he would wake them up. They also have a Senate race that's going on there. The gentleman Cologne is running for Senate, right? And so he has a great chance of winning that state. We saw with Mike Espy, right? Mike Espy in that runoff came very close to beating Sidney Hyde-Smith. And so the people are there. I think the momentum is there. And Dr. Richey, one of the reasons why I always talk about the South is because I understand that the numbers are there, the people are there. It takes the money, it takes the infrastructure to get them there. You're in Georgia. You saw what happened with Stacey Abrams when they purged the rolls, right? They purged them by 50-some thousand votes. Stacey came short about how many?
About that much?
Correct.
Yep.
So they understand that power. And that's what I've been telling people as I've been traveling across the country, that the power truly is within we the people. And Republicans understand that. And I hope that Democrats understand that it's time to speak to the American people and speak to their everyday issues. Gas prices, right? Speaking to the cost of rent, the cost of groceries, and talk to them about a plan to move that forward. Because we understand what the Republicans are doing. The American people are not ignorant. They understand what they're doing. So we now have to tell them, what are we going to do to combat that and make it better for their everyday lives, for those kitchen table issues that really matter to them, Dr. Richey. And I hear that so much around the country that they feel like we are disconnected here in Washington, and we got to get reconnected to people in their everyday struggles.
Yeah, man, it's nowhere in the hell that Republicans should have out grassroots the grassroots organizers. It's nowhere in the hell that this should have ever happened on a mass scale. But here's the reality. A lot of Democrats got elected and played the political game, and they became gatekeepers rather than transformational leaders, because we elected people to do things that were radically different, to create radical change. And instead of them doing that, we got a whole bunch of folk who talked good, but when they got into office, they decided to placate to the power force that's in DC, and they rather be invited to the ball than the barbecue. And so we got a whole lot of Democrats who talk a good game, right? And when it comes down to pushing the agenda, they become silent, or they become ineffective while still double talking. And that's why I've said, brother, at this point in my life, I don't give a damn about if I like you or not. I don't care what your background may be. If I believe you're going to get in there and do the thing you say you're going to do, you're going to get my vote. Because that's the game that we're in today. And that's what Republicans did. They leaned into people who they believed would do their bidding rather than disqualify them based on some background dynamic or not.
Absolutely. And Dr. Richey, we are going to have to really move forward in a different direction, because now Donald Trump is showing us that you can be illegal and get stuff done. So if you can be illegal, corrupt, and get stuff done, when Democrats are back in power, they damn best better make sure that they can help make sure affordable education is for people, expand the courts, making sure that DC is a state right? Expanding and making sure that where they can forgive student loans, they can forgive those student loans for people, making sure that they have a pathway for affordable housing, addressing food insecurity in this country. Like there is a way forward. And I think what this administration is showing us is that there is no longer bureaucracy in Washington. It's really about what do you want to do for the American people that's tangible, right? And
Come on,
so
brother.
that is what the American people is going to be expecting. And so it's no longer going to be able to hide behind anything. When they
That's
have
right.
when they have a trifecta, they better make DC a statehood, right? They better, right?
Yeah.
This
You are damn
administration is
right.
giving us the playbook.
You are
Absolutely.
damn right. And if we get anything from this moment, we should get that. How to utilize power, how to utilize it effectively and efficiently. You have to think about this, brother. Republican leaders are willing to break the law for their values, whatever those values may be and how perverted they may be. They're willing to engage and break the law. Democrats weren't willing to do what is legal for us because they believed gradualism needed to be the rule of the day. No longer can they say that when they're in power because Trump has proven that there's a blueprint for leadership if you push the agenda as you push it or allow people around you to push that agenda and support them pushing the agenda.
Absolutely. I honestly believe as we go into the midterms, into the 2028 election, that the American people are going to show us that. And so, just like we had never heard of Barack Obama, right? Many people around the country say, "I never heard of Barack Obama,"
Yeah.
and he rose to that occasion and met the moment. I'll never forget, Dr. Richey. I was talking to and interviewing John Lewis before he passed away, and he said, "Sometime history has the ability to arrest us." And
Mm,
I believe that whoever becomes the 2028 nominee for the Democratic Party, I believe that history will arrest that person and that they will meet the American people needs in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. Because this administration is, of course, tearing that democracy up in 1,000 pieces. But I do believe that the American people are going to put that back together by electing the next 2028 whoever is president of the United States. I honestly believe is going to meet that moment just like President Barack Obama did. And it may be somebody that we haven't really had
that's
a
right.
lot of eyes on.
That's
Absolutely.
right, brother. That's right. That's right. Well said. Thank you for all of your leadership and the hope that you bring through direct engagement and knowledge, brother. We appreciate you. Tell people how they can follow you and check out your great work, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Richey. You can check me out at duvaliermalone.com, and I'm Duvalier Malone on all social media platforms. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Richey, in this enrichment conversation we've had today.
Thank you, dear brother. Same. All right. Remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always